Hello, eighth grade readers. Miss Sorensen here. I have the pleasure of teaching you today about a strategy that is going to take an already established and meaningful, significant idea that you have written about your text and bring it to even a more insightful and precise statement that will be more interesting and also score you a 4 when it comes to making meaning. So, first of all, we always want to go as deep as we can with our reading. And to make that deep meaning, we have to be intentional. We have to ask ourselves questions after we're done reading about the important parts that we noted in a text. And some of us do this naturally, but many of us do not. And so that's why we have our notebook. And we also mark up our text with clues that really hint at something significant happening in the plot, with a character, or in the conflict. So, what I want you to think about is we're going to use this tree as a metaphor to help ourselves think about going deeper in meaning as readers. So, here is our text trunk. Our text trunk is our text, and this is where we're reading and asking questions. And notice that we're just right at the surface level, and that's where we usually are when we're reading. After we're done reading, though, we go deeper into the text to the root of some of these really important areas of literature, such as conflict, character, theme, and perspective. And considering these help us, and that's our strategy, is to consider these 4 roots. That helps us develop more insight and understanding of what's happening. So when we think about conflict, we want to think about the problem. How is it going to be resolved? What is the root of the problem? What's causing the problem? And really be able to describe the issue. And again, you can write about this in your notebook, and it might give you a new way of thinking about your initial statement. Next, what is motivating the character? Who has power? And so I've used these sticky notes to kind of prompt you to think about questions for these characters and questions for the roots. How is the character changing? That is really important to consider. Also, theme. Theme is kind of a lesson from the story and why the story is being told. It also lets us look at what the characters are learning. We might also think about what lesson we take away from what has been told in the story so far. Lastly, perspective. Perspective is another area that you can think about when the perspective changes, or if you were to change the perspective, whose perspective is missing? And is the perspective that you're reading now fair? So you don't need to answer all of these questions. Rather, you're going to look at your initial meaningful statement or inference, and then you're going to see which ones fit best. So my story, piecing me together, Jade is our protagonist, and I decided to write about the conflict because I'm only on the first 75 pages of the book. And so Jade is struggling to see the positivity and beauty in her community. And so far, that is the most meaningful statement I can make right now about her and where I am reading, unless I go deeper with some questions. So my textual clues that I marked in my book are these 2 here, and they both have to do with how she feels like herself and her community, her friends, her family, her neighborhood, all are things that put her at a disadvantage to achieving her best. And so when I think about that, I feel like conflict, character, and perspective roots might be something that I want to think about to go deeper with this statement. She's struggling to see positivity and beauty in her community, and I'm wondering if I can answer why and how to that. And so I do some writing in my notebook, and I think about the conflict. Jade has many obligations, and she doesn't have much time to really nurture herself. She's all about filling those obligations others want her to do to be successful. Her character is motivated by taking every opportunity to please her mom, to please her guidance counselor. She just wants to do all the right things so she can be successful. Lastly, Jade values the perspective of others. She is a brilliant thinker, but she doesn't really follow her own instinct and her own thinking. Rather, she is just consumed with taking all of these opportunities that others present to her, which kind of make her feel, I think, a little bit inadequate and almost demean her. So that was some really deep thought that I just had there that I wrote in my notebook. And I want to see if I can incorporate it now into a better, more precise, a more interesting statement about my meaning making thus far in my book. So here was what I came up with. Because Jade is told frequently that her life circumstances make her disadvantaged, Jade is not recognizing the contributions she can share with others. And I really like this as a better statement because I can connect it to more parts right now that I'm reading in the plot and the action that's taking place. And it kind of answers the why and how of my original statement, which was good, but it was a little bit broad. So I was able to make more meaning. I hope you try this strategy. It is one that you will need to do with some practice at first, but then eventually, naturally, you will just start getting to the root while you're reading or after you're reading, just thinking about the text. So give it a try. Let me know how it goes. Good luck.